Hmm. Oh, namumula ka na.
Hello everyone, so I am here now at my condominium unit in Cubao, and I would like to do a quick demo of the Internet of Things and the AI application that is developed for my condominium unit.
What is Digital Week?
The Digital Week 2019 is an ADB annual.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our next video that is about the practical example of logistic regression. As we have discussed the definition of the logistic regression, what is this? So it's a name pretended itself. This is a logistic regression. This is a supervised machine learning algorithm, and it works for the regression and classification as well. So in this practical example, we are going to work with the classification type. So we are going to discuss these steps in this. This is first of all introduction, which we have already discussed. Then logistic regression intuition, problem statement, dataset description, import libraries, dataset, EDA, declare feature vector and target variable, spread data, feature engineering, scaling, model training, predict result, and check accuracy. And these are various methods I have used in this practical example to check the model performance or its evaluation. So let's start with the very first topic, like the definition, which we are covered. And now we will look at this problem statement, right? So in this project, we try to answer the question whether or not it will rain tomorrow in Australia or not. We implement logistic regression with the Python and scikit-learn. To answer this question, we build a classifier to predict whether or not it will rain in Australia by training a binary classification using logistic regression. So this is the same step importing the libraries, which we have done in our previous practical example as well. And we are reading over CSV file, and then we are checking its shape, how many records and features we have. And then we are just viewing the data using head function, right? So after that, I have just mentioned the column names. The steps which we are performing now, this is called the pre-processing steps. So here we are looking into the number of features we have in our data set. Now in this, we will exclude risk because this is the variable which we need to predict, right? So it's giving you the approximate value whether the rain will happen tomorrow or not. So I'm going to drop this feature because otherwise we cannot build a very good model. So we will exclude this. So now we will drop this one. Now we are checking the total information of our data set, in which you can see how many type of data set types of variable or features you have, how many missing values in that, and total how many features, right? Now you can see we have a string type, float type, int type, every type of data we have in our data set. Now our first step will be we will see some statistical properties of the data set. So first of all, I'm using the describe function. Using describe function, it will give us the total count of your number of records, its mean, standard deviation, then minimum value, then it's a interquartile range, and the maximum one. So using the describe function, you can also check the outlier value as well, because it's giving you the mean value, and we can see how far your value is from the mean. This is your range. We can check the difference. Using this, we will come to know how long, how much your data is scattered, how much variance, and how far it is from your mean value. So we will start the analysis in the logistic regression with the very first point. This is univariate analysis. I am going to consider it a variable which is over a target variable in case of univariate. Univariate means you are considering only single element, single feature. So I have considered here target variable, my rain tomorrow. First of all, I will check is there any missing value or not. using simple isNull function dot sum. So we found that we don't have any missing value in this. Now we will check the difference between unique and unique. This is a just extra and documentation I have added this. So the main difference between unique and unique is this. And unique will return you the total number of unique values count, and unique will return the value actual. Right. So in the rain tomorrow we have a two unique values, that is a yes and no, which is based on the categorical data. And now we will check the frequency distribution of these values. How how much we have a value with the no, and how much value we would have a yes. So we have a large number of count with the no value, and we have a very less count with the yes value. Now we will look the same value using the percentage, right, in the form of percentage. Now it's showing 77% in case of no. That means rain is not going to happen tomorrow, and 22% is only in case of rain will happen. Okay, now we will see by the graphical representation. Earlier we have checked the distribution using count number, percentage. Now we are visualizing the data using the graphical representation. So this is just different methods which I have mentioned, how you can analyze your data. You can use any of them. You do not need to use all of them, but you can use any of them according to your convenience. How would you like to analyze the data, right? Now we will find the univariate findings of univariate variables. Now what we have done during the analysis, the number of unique value in rain tomorrow, this is 2, right? What we have done using the n unique, and this is a unique result. And this is a total distribution of according to no and yes, and this is your total findings, right? Now you are done with the analysis of univariate variable. Now we want to do the analysis of bivariate. Bivariate means you have now two features. Okay, so now we will segregate the data set into categorical and numerical variables. There are a mixture of categorical and numerical variable in the data set. So bivariate analysis, don't get confused here. Bivariate analysis means the relationship between two different variables. We are not restricting the number of variables here. We are just checking the relationship between two variables. Kindly note it. But there can be a number of variable for the analysis. Okay, because bivariate, univariate, we are checking based on the relationship, not the total number of the count. Now this is we will separate the categorical variable here and took out these are our categorical variable. Now our first thing is what we will do, we will look around this again using the head function, and then we will write down the summary, and now we will check the missing value in this. Now you can see we have a lot of missing value in this, see, right? After that, I will check consider the categorical variable who has a missing value. Now we can see that there are 4 categorical variables in the dataset which contains a missing value. So these are these 4 variables. Now we will check its frequency, how they are affecting and how they are showing the relationship between your target one, right? Now we will check again with the using value count. We are checking the distribution as we done in the univariate case. And now we will check the the frequency distribution categorical of your all variables, right, in the form of float. These are different. Now we are checking the distribution in case of this one. If you look around this, in this wind direct at 9 a.m. on the record with the 0.074, and this is on the W side, this is 0.06. If you look around it, that means now you have the frequency of distribution of categorical variables. Okay, and after that we will check the cardinality. So what does it mean? Cardinality means we are checking the total count of your unique value present in your data set. If there is a high range, high total count of your unique values, then it is not going to like work with your model, because there no relationship will be built up with any variables, because you have all unique values. Okay, so you need to check it before moving ahead during analysis. Now you can see after checking this, you found it 3, 4, 3, 6 labels for the date. So it has a higher cardinality. So we will handle it in a later on. And then we can see the date variable which needs to be pre-processed, which I have just told you. And now we will perform some feature engineering on this. We will check its type. What type of is this? Then we will convert it into the date time. And then we will simple separate over year, month and week, like this one. See, using dfdt.year, it will give you the year and then the month and then the day. Okay, now we will again check the info. Now it has created 3 more features. This is year, month and day. Now in that case, we have now date. We don't require this column now, right? We will drop it. We will drop it like this one. Okay, now if you see, there is a no date column coming. Now in the end, we have this date in the form of this one. Now explore categorical variable one by one. Now we will explore the categorical variable. Okay, like this one. Now we will again check, is there any missing value, right? Now we will explore the unique value again and check the how many unique values in this. As for example, if you check the location unique variable, then it's showing the unique locations based on their cities, which is present in the location column. See, right? So these all are a categorical type. We need to handle it here. How would you handle the categorical variable? You will convert all your categorical variable in one hot encoding, right? Using the get dummies function. Now your categorical variable is converted into 0, 1 form. Then it would be easy for a machine to understand. If the value exists corresponding, if the location is for example your location is exist in Albury, then it will show 1. Okay, so according to this point of view, it will work get dummies. Now we will handle the next one, wind gust direction. So it is a 17 labels, that is fine. And now we will check the percentage of distribution, which values they have given in this column. And then we will again, using the same function, we will convert into 0, 1 format, that is a Boolean format using get dummies. We will apply this same function on over all categorical variables. See, like this one. So this is called the one hot encoder method to handle the categorical variables. Like this one. Okay, now we will explore the numerical variable. How would you do that? You will check the numerical variables. We have this count of, and we will see using head function. And then we will check again the missing value. We have a lot of missing value in these all variables. Now we will check the outlier using the describe function, as I have told you how you can check it. Apart from the mean, you can check the value of this one, right? So this is very, very far away from the your mean value. Your the difference is coming very high. So we will on the closer inspection, we can see that rainfall, this one, evaporation, the evaporation, wind speed, and wind speed in a column may contain outliers. So this is not showing right now these 3 because it's a large data set. The dot is coming. But if we look at a rainfall, if we look at its mean value, it's 2 and its minimum value is 0, right? And it's a 75. That means it's on the 75% interquartile range. This is very far away from our mean value, right? So there is a huge difference between them, and its maximum is 371. This is a too much difference. So this means we outlier lies in this, right? So we will draw the box plot to visualize it like this one. Now you can see rainfall. So this is your interquartile range. This is the maximum one, which is near 371, which was showing here, this one. And if you see, this is a interquartile range, it would start from here. Okay, because right now it's not showing the box plot because your outlier are the value of outlier is very high. Okay, now if you look at the evaporation, this is your box plot. If you see the center line, this is your mean, and this is your maximum value, interquartile range, and this is Q1, this is Q3. Okay, and how you will find it, and this is your outliers which exist. Okay, so this way you can using the box plot, you can see the outliers. Now we need to handle it because it will affect over model performance. Now we have done the same visualization using the histogram. It's again showing the skewness because your all data is going on to the left side. Okay, see this one. Now we will find the outliers using the equation which we have. How it is going, interquartile range is equal to, this is 75% minus your 25%, Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so this will get the IQR, and then we will find the minimum value and upper range value. Now this upper range and lower range means your data should be lie between this one. If it is going beyond the lower value, that is also an outlier, and if it is going beyond the upper bound, that is also an outlier. In this case, the value which goes above 3.2, that means it is an outlier. This is we are checking the range. See, like this one. We will find the range in above all this. So this was a just analysis. We did not handle these things right now. Now we are done with the analysis of your univariate, then bivariate. Now we are going to doing the analyzation using the multivariate relationship. Now how the multiple variable are interconnected with each other. Okay, so first of all we will draw a heat map, and now we can see the result of this one. If you look at whole this graph, and you consider first of all your target variable, then which variable is connected with it at most of the time. If we look over this here, you can see 98%, right? And if we goes here, you can see the minimum temperature and maximum temperature are interconnected with each other, right? But in a opposite direction. This is no, in the same direction, sorry, in the positive direction, right? So this way you can check the relationship between the whole multivariate relationship, multiple variables, right? Now I have write down that this is interpretation about this, like minimum temperature and maximum temperature variables are highly positive correlation that we have just discussed, and the next variable, and so on. Now we will do the pair plot as well to look around the relationship between them. Pair plot is a very useful when you want to check the relationship with the single variable and how they are interconnected with each other, how they are correlated with each other. This is another way, like this one. In this, if you look at this is your minimum temperature, this is maximum temperature. So they are, if this histogram is like this one, right? If you look around this row, then they are in the same direction. They are varying in the same direction, right? If you go below this, then there will be a maximum temperature, this one. Okay. Now we will declare the feature vector and target variable. We are going to drop the label because this is we don't require it. Now we will put the as I told you, over target variable will always be on a y-axis. Now we will split the data using the train test split function by importing it using the sklearn model selection. and I am taking the test side here 0.2. That means 20% over data would be a test data, and rest of the 80% data would be your training data set, right? So this is a X train shape, X test shape. Now we will perform the feature engineering. Now we have done the analysis using a univariate, bivariate, multivariate. Now it's a time to apply the feature engineering, which like found the outliers, missing values. We are going to handle it here now. Now this is we have taken the X-train data type, and this is a display categorical variable, right? These are the all variable and numerical variable. Now we will check first of all the mean value, missing values, and then we will handle it. I will show you. Now if you see, print the percentage of missing value in the numerical. If you see, minimum has a 0.044, pressure 9m has a this much variable missing, and so on. So we are just calculating, we are considering the missing value and finding the mean of this one, right? So this is a good practice. If you have a missing value in your data set in case of a numerical data type, then your first priority is always mean. So you will calculate the mean and fill all missing value with the mean value. Here, what we are doing this. Now we will again check the missing value. All values are coming 0. See, right? So now you have handled all missing value in the numerical data type, right? This is the way. Now we will do some feature engineering or categorical. Here we will check the mean function, and then we will find if print the categorical with the missing data. We are printing the missing data, and then we will fill it with the mode function, which is repeating a more time. We will fill over all data where it's missing with the mode function which value is frequently occurring in your data set. Now we have handled the categorical value as well. See, check it, all values are filled now, no missing value. Now we are done with the handling the missing value. Now we will come on to the outliers. How would you do that? How would you handle this? We will check the outliers and see the maximum range of your in the test data and train data. This is a range which we have already calculated during the analysis, right? Now we will check it again, right? Now we will encode the your categorical variable. What we have done using the simple your binary encoder function and fit onto the train data and test data, and then we will look into this like this one. We can see that we have a 2 additional rain today and 1. Why would like it's showing now 2 columns? Because your rain tomorrow variable column feature was of a categorical type, yes or no. So your machine is not going to understand this yes or no. We need to convert it into the 0-1 form. That's why I have created 2 column. That is when we change it in using the encoder function, it will create a 2 column features with the 0. That means there is a no rain. 1 means there is a rain. Okay. Now we will concatenate these 2 variables and put into the data set. It will look like this. This one. Okay. Now we will consider the test data again, applying the same function on that as well. Now we were performing some feature scaling and calculating the data. We will now going to handle your outliers using the minimum maximum scaler. If you don't have much knowledge about it, I have given the link. You can go there and can get the information about this one, and we will check it now. Now we will look at this value. Now this is a 0.21 and maximum is 1. See, big difference. Earlier it was showing 371, right? So this way you are able to handle the outlier. Now we will look around on the training data set. We are going to create an object of logistic regression fitting onto the model trained data, and we will predict the values. Now we have got this result. No, yes. Now I am going to apply the predict proba method. This means it method gives you the probability for the target variable 0 and 1, in this case in an array form. So 0 is for the probability of no rain, 1 is for the probability of rain. So how would you do that? Just to take the object of your model which we have created earlier here, then apply the predict proba on the text data set, and we are checking about if there is a no rain, then it will give you this result. Okay, because we are passing 0 here, that means there is a no rain, and if I am passing 1 here, then it means there is a rain. Okay, so this way you will come to know the in a form of array result, either it will rain or not tomorrow. Now we will check the accuracy using the accuracy score on by passing the your actual value or predicted value. This is 85% score. That is not bad. Now we will compare the train and test accuracy using the your ypredict function, and this accuracy is coming 84%. Right now we will check the overfitting and underfitting. So that means we are comparing the performance of your model on the train dataset and test dataset. So it's coming 84 and 85%. That means there is not much difference. So our model performance is not bad. Okay, so this case there is no question of overfitting because they are coming around the probably same value. Now this is a confusion matrix. This is another way to check your classification model, either it's working fine or not, right? So you can read this from here, this one, after looking into this video. And now this is I have applied the confusion matrix. This is using the true positive cases. This is first one is true positive. That means the input which you are giving, it's predicting the same thing, giving the output the same result. So that means this is called the true positive. And false positive, again now we have a true negative. That means the input which you have given the incorrect the input, and it's giving the the same input the negative result. So this means your this is called the true negative. False positive means you are giving the input correct, but your output is coming it's to opposite, and the same vice versa with your false negative. So this is a confusion matrix we have created. So we have a true positive cases total number 20892, and this is true negative because we measure it diagonally. Okay, TP, TN, FP, FN. Okay, now we will do the addition of this. That means this total cases number of rain will happen, and this total number of cases, this is an incorrect prediction. That means your actual negative is 0, but predicted is positive. So this is called the type 1 error, and actual positive is 1, but your machine predicted it 0. This is opposite to that. That means it is a type 2 error. We can visualize it in the form of graphical representation like this one, in the matrix form. Now we will do some your model evaluation and improvement. In this section we will use several techniques, this is a classification report. This is a one of the method to check predict the result of this. This will give you the whole report, like the precision, recall, F1, and this one value. So classification accuracy is this, and when we have checked it, this give the whole lump sum result is 85%. Okay, and we are checking this rate. So this is called the classification error. So this error is low, okay, because it's coming with the 0.14. This is a very less error. So precision can be find the percentage of correctly predicted positive outcomes out of all the predicted positive outcomes. So it can be as a ratio of true positive, but the sum true and false positive, as we have calculated earlier, right? So how you can find out at this total positive cases divided by float, total positive plus false positive. Okay, so it give you this result. This is your in the recall we are doing the same thing, because in this it is doing the only the differences is here it is we are doing the plus false positive, here we are doing the false negative, because it will recall your data from the previously how the like the error was coming. Now this is the true positive rate, we are calculating the true positive rate as well, and the similarly your false positive. Now this is a F1 score. We will check it. Its value should be between 10 and worst would be a 0.0. So this is a just F1 score is a to check the harmonic mean of precision and recall. Now this is the last method which we are doing. This is a K-cross validation. In this we are considering the training data into a 5 different folds and applying over like validation, cross validation on different and check the result. Now we will check the result, and what is the result? 0.84. So that means there is not much difference, because we already get the 84% and your K fold is also showing the same result. So we do not so that means we can conclude that that cross validation does not result in performance improvement, right? So because your value accuracy is coming here is the same as you got in the training or test data set. So this was all about your practical example of logistic regression, and now we will move ahead over next step. So we are done with this one. I have also mentioned the second example, so you can download the data set, and now you have a very good about idea about the how you can do the various analysis like univariate, bivariate, multivariate, how you can handle the missing value in categorical, how you can handle the missing value in numerical, how you can handle the outliers. So you can apply the same analysis part on your next example, that is your Titanic. How many people survived on the Titanic ship or not? You can download the dataset from the Kaggle and start doing practice. So this is a few questions which I have added to check your performance. You can have a look. So this is a skill test question and answers. Right. Now we have a third algorithm, and we will discuss this third algorithm, decision tree algorithm, in our next video. Okay, so I will see you in the next video.